Hello, it's day 7. I can't believe it. It's been 1 week since I started this experiment, and what a week it's been. I can already feel the transformation in my thoughts because it's forcing me to really pay attention to what my gut instinct is and not to question as much as I would have in the past. Whew, what a powerful day. Um, I think my food and eating was normal. Well, maybe except for towards the end of the day. But I really paid attention to nourishing my gut really closely, fed it my veggie juice in the morning, all good gut stuff. And then I waited some time before having some oatmeal, all good gut stuff, all the things that you want to feed the gut with. Started off with raw plant material, then the oatmeal that is whole grain oats and, rolled oats, not even the quick oats, and, lots of seeds and nuts and no sugar and things like that. So, all good for you stuff. And then, it was an interesting day. I went through some emotions with my daughter. Um, she is very, very sensitive. And she has a lot of push pull with me where she just, um, she just has a hard time with being told no or not getting her way completely. And she can shut down on me. And it can lead to some tough emotions. And I can be really good with how to handle her. And it just takes a lot of effort. So I found it really interesting because I went through a difficult situation with a friend the night before where there was a lot of, she's going through a lot. And, this is the second time now where I had a very harsh reaction to something. I felt like she was going down what felt to me like a negative path. She considers it explaining how she feels, but there's a lot of, in my opinion, and this is just my opinion, um, negativity and gossiping that is kind of put into it. Now, I've been feeling this way for a while with her, and I had just kind of let it go. I know that, for me, I've been on a path which is really focused on, purifying myself to some degree. Just, this concept of ascension and, going to a higher vibrational state. And I've been really focused on my body and my thoughts and my behaviors. And, it's not an easy route. I am, the same person that I was before. I'm just happier, and I have a lot of amazing teachers, and, they, just by being them, have shown me that, this kind of path is possible, and and my soul is telling me this is what I'm doing. And so everywhere I've read is that, these kind of behaviors are just bringing us into a lower vibrational state. And I don't need to be reading that to know that. I mean, gossiping and complaining, I mean, that's just that kind of behavior. And so it's not like it's overwhelming. I mean, she's a wonderful person, and it's, it was just there. It was just there in it, and I fed into it, and that is my fault to feed into it. It just seems to be part of normal society, and there are things that we can engage with and things that we don't need to engage with, and I was engaging in that. I was definitely engaging in that, and in some ways I felt like I was allowing that to propagate in me. But I didn't pay attention to it. I just kind of let it be because I love her. She's a wonderful, amazing person. And this is an aspect of her that, she's outgrowing. And I know she's outgrowing because she complains that her sister does that. Um, and so, anyway, we were on a phone call, and she was going down that route, and it was a phone call for a group, and we were having to make some decisions, and I just wanted to move past that part, move past the part of complaining, which felt like gossiping to me because it was about somebody who wasn't there. And, at some point, like, yes, you can, state your feelings, and yes, state the facts, and then let's just move on and work with what we have, because to me that's just, where the way it is in those kind of situations. You just move on. So I just had to I interrupted, and I don't it's a problem I can have to interrupt people. And so, that's something that I have to work on. I purposefully did it in this case to stop the conversation and move on, because we only had 15 more minutes and we had a lot to discuss. And the response was to hang up on me. And I feel like that's a really harsh response. Now, being interrupted is pretty harsh too. I get that. And, I tried to make it the benefit of the doubt and just be like, oh, did we lose you or whatever? And I kind of get this, like, nasty text back being like, whatever, I'm over this, or I don't know, just tell me what I have to do. And, I left a voicemail. I probably wasn't my best. And then in the morning, I left a more like conciliatory voicemail. I used that opportunity to do shadow work, because if this is my outside world, if people are being, if I'm being hung up on by people, who am I hanging up on in my life? Who am I treating in my life in such a way if this is something that is happening to me? And I realized that there are times that I was shutting out my daughter and my husband from, um, you know, from that as well. Like, I would walk away from a conversation. I mean, what I feel like with my daughter and my husband, it's usually when I get pushed to my limits. And so I recognized that maybe she was pushed to her limits, though it was just the beginning of the conversation and we just had like a pleasant interchange before that. But I could tell that she wasn't feeling supported. And if she doesn't feel supported, then she gets triggered, and then her reaction is to hang up. And I guess, for me, that's what happens with my husband and daughter. And so I did this intense shadow work. I woke up in the morning, I explained the situation to them, and I apologized to them. And, in the morning, my gut was saying, to resolve the situation with my friend, because it was drawing energy from me. And so I, sent an, a voice message, and I explained that I was feeling like, this was the situation, and I didn't, I felt like the being hung up on was, kind of harsh, and that this is how it felt for me. And how I felt was that I felt unsafe, because this is the second time in our relationship where I feel like it was just like a complete shutdown, and then, a dismissal of everything and not wanting to talk about it. And, being silenced afterwards. Like, there's just like a silent treatment going on because it's not going her way. So she doesn't want to talk about it. And it made me feel unsafe. And, it made me feel like I didn't, that we can't have mistakes or like differences of opinion or whatever in our friendship. And I felt really good after explaining myself. And so it was something that I needed to do. It felt really right to explain myself. And my gut felt a lot better. And I went through my day. And then I go through this hard time with my daughter, but we reconcile. One of the things that I notice when I go through this hard time with my daughter is that my mind wants to eat. It just wants to like stuff it with emotions. It wanted good things like oranges, but I was like, no, I'm not going to eat. I'm just going to sit with it. I'm going to have some water. And, by sitting with it, I was able to allow those emotions to dissipate and then, go back to my daughter and, have a really beautiful time with her because she's able to recognize her behaviors and she's able to apologize for them as well. And we're able to work together through them. And it's a really beautiful interchange. So I go on my hike because every Thursday I try to take a hike, and that's how I got the download to do this experiment. And so, this idea of being able to trust my gut to do what's right. I mean, I trusted my gut to make Thursdays my hike. I trusted my gut to go to certain locations. And, I've just been following my gut when it comes to that. And I've been having these massive releases in my body and these massive breakthroughs. So, I go on this hike again, and as I'm pulling into the parking lot, I get a message from her, from my friend, and she's basically dismissed everything I said, and she's just like, whatever, I'm over it. I don't want to talk about this. This is nothing I need to go into. And for me, it just felt like I was being pushed away. I know she's going through a lot. She's got so much going on in her life. And I have so much compassion and love for her. I've just been sending her out all of this love, and I've been reaching out to her, and I've been trying to do so much, but to me, it felt like I was being pushed away. It felt like, to push away somebody is to me to hang up on them and then dismiss them when they tell you like they want to talk about it, they feel unsafe. And it was like, I don't want to talk about it. So I didn't know what to do. There was a part of me that really wanted to reply with like shame, blame, guilt, anger. But one of the mantras I've been repeating to myself is I'm impeccable with my words. And to be impeccable with my words is to convey it in a way that's truthful for how I'm feeling. I'm not trying to blame, shame, guilt anyone. I'm not trying to do that to myself. I'm not trying to do that to anybody else. And I just felt my gut was saying that this wasn't feeling right. This wasn't feeling right. I wasn't feeling right in this friendship. There's something about it that I wasn't feeling right about. And I also felt like I was being pushed away. I felt like, she'd been mentioning that she has been cutting people out of her life, and, it's because she's going on this spiritual path and stuff, I guess. But I've just been feeling like, I felt like that this was pushing me away. I have this kind of push-pull relationship with other people in my life, and this is not what I wanted in a friendship, especially a relatively new one, somebody who I've really been devoting a lot of my energy and time to, and somebody who I've really valued. But it's just a really, I don't know, it's very high school energy, and I didn't want to be there. And so I wrote a long message that was essentially I feel like I'm being pushed away. I, really have valued you, and that, I just don't feel like that the interchange is being honored. And, I don't want to, continue on like this. And, I've been trying, but you don't want to discuss it. I don't know where to go from here. I don't know what to say. I don't know how to just leave something like that and not have it draw energy from me. And so I'm releasing this relationship. And, have nothing but love to you. And it was really hard. It was really hard to do. I go on this hike and I'm feeling sad. I'm feeling sad about it. I'm mourning this friendship, but I feel lighter. I sit in this new location. I hadn't even really started the hike, but there's this beautiful mountain that has all these little tiny trails people have made to go see the view. And I go take the view on one of them, and it's so spectacular. And I just sit there to think, and I sit there to meditate. I sit there and I release this relationship. And I start to see all of these things, all of these patterns come back. I see the way that she is hurting, and what she needs is love, and she's pushing people away. But I also see my daughter in that situation, how she does that same thing. What she needs is love, and she's pushing people away with her really harsh reactions. Their violent reactions, yelling at somebody, hanging up on somebody, just ignoring somebody when they're reaching out to you. These are violent reactions, and I saw the way that my daughter does them to me and how she can trigger me to do that to her. And what she's asking for is love. And I've been good over these last several years to be able to just go and love her. And I've given my daughter these words: I just need love, because she can't seem to stop herself when she does these reactions. And it can be really jarring and triggering. And now she's known to, she can say those things or do those things, but then she's like, I need love, and I'll just go give her love, and she'll calm down and we can talk through it. And it's been just wonderful. And I just don't have that with my friend. And my friend's an adult, and I don't know how to have these discussions with somebody who just wants to move on and not discuss it anymore. And that's what she said. And, she made that very clear. So I had to let it go. And I feel like, for me, in a friendship is being able to do that kind of exchange. And so I was releasing it. And as I was releasing it, I was mourning it. And I began to think about these two other relationships in my life where the same thing has happened. There was somebody who was just, if we got into a disagreement, he would just completely shut down and ignore me for days. And it was really painful. And, I didn't take all the signs that were bothering me, and I kept dealing with this relationship, and we would move on without discussion. And the pain would grow because it would happen again. That shutdown when he didn't like something, and we wouldn't discuss these things, and it was just too much for me. And I felt like I wasn't able to ask for what I needed in that relationship, because it was just that fear of being shut down. And eventually I ended it, but it was a harder ending to deal with. But I wasn't honoring myself. In another relationship, I had already explained to this person that I felt like silence was violence, and I made every effort to explain to people that I need a few days. I'm not going to respond. But, I just at least said that much. And she knew this, and she doesn't like it when people do that to her. And yet that was her choice to do that to me after a series of things where I felt like I had been disrespected by her. And, I've had to consciously, let that relationship go in that sense. It's not over, and it might be something that we work through, but I've kind of released it in my head. And in those two instances, I waited. I waited for the other person to kind of push me to my limits or to be the one to respond. But there have both been times where I feel unsafe. I feel like my emotions are not respected. And this time I recognized the unsafety right away. And, I decided to cut that cord. Now, it might seem harsh. And I've been like, reeling with that in my mind. Like, what is it in my head? Like, what am I doing that's attracting this? And, there's so many different aspects to look at this. But one of the things that I've learned is I'm finally learning what it means to be safe. These are three people who've had a lot of fears in the world because of what's going on in, since 2020 and the way their lives are being shaken up. And they have a lot going on in their life. And I've had a lot going on in my life too. And I get it. We can project our fears onto other people, and we can project it especially onto those that we love. But I was taking it on. And this was my childhood. I took on my parents' fear. I took it on and I internalized it, and I let my parents treat me the way that they treated me. And I was doing that in these friendships and calling it love. And it was hurting me. And it becomes this energetic drain in me because it's drawing this energy away from me. And if I'm drawing this energy away from me, I'm not focused on, what is in alignment with me. These energetic leaks, it makes my gut feel bad. I feel bad. And so it was hard, but I followed my gut instinct on that. And I released those relationships. I went on and I could see, I went on with my hike, and my day, and there were just so many layers of unveiling and releasing, and it felt light. I felt good. And when I got back, I received a message from my friend who I'd just released, and she was a little taken aback. She was surprised. And to me, I think it was a little surprising that she was surprised. And I think that what I've released is that old pattern of treating people in a way that is not respectful. I was vulnerable. I admitted to her how I was feeling, and it was just, I don't know, whatever. And I'm not even sure that, I don't feel safe that she won't go and complain about me to somebody else. And it's made me realize that that was part of the unsafety that I was feeling. What happens behind my back? Does a complaint about me go to someone else? And to me, it's just not the world I want to live in. It's not the new earth I want to foster. And so I'm grateful that I trusted my gut instinct on that. I'm grateful that I didn't feed my emotions. I'm grateful that I had to be conscious of my gut more through that. When I got home that night, I ate. I ate the lunch I didn't eat during the day. And I didn't think I would be hungry, but there was something in me that was hungry, and I fed my gut good stuff. It was definitely later than I would have liked, but my body was asking for it, and I nourished my gut. I know today was a long day in terms of this post, but it was a pretty powerful release, and I just needed to work through those emotions. And since I'm recording these on a daily basis and, I'm processing as I'm going through it, some of them will be long. But I think it's really important, to listen to our guts, because it's not just the food we eat, it's the emotions we feel. Our gut is telling us a lot about how we feel. If our stomach feels tight, if we feel uncomfortable. This is our body reacting. My gut was reacting to an emotion from the past that was being brought up in the present. And by being able to deal with it in the present, I'm helping to acknowledge and release stories of the past. And that is a beautiful thing, because I'm nourishing my gut with emotions that will be positive. There are going to be times where fear comes up. There's going to be time when uncomfortability comes up. That's normal. But we should be able to work through them. And I'm realizing that that's what I want in a friendship, is like somebody who can work through them with me versus ignore them, because a lot of my relationships in the past have been about ignoring them. And I don't want to create that cycle anymore. Thanks for watching.